Alrighty, so we are going to review some figurative language devices today. The student learning objectives, we're going to talk about those real quick. So at the end of this or throughout in the past unit talking about figurative language, you should be able to define the following figurative language devices: personification, alliteration, simile, idiom, and metaphor. You should also be able to identify these terms, not just with a definition, but be able to read a poem and say, oh, that's a metaphor, that's a simile, alliteration, etc., etc. And you should also be able to explain the meaning of selective figurative language. So if you see a simile or a metaphor, be able to explain what that means, since it's not literal meanings. So a little bit of discussion. Why do you guys think authors or musicians use figurative language in their music or in stories, poems, things like that? Any ideas? Clark?
To make their writing like more interesting.
Make it more interesting. Any other ideas? Mackenzie?
To convey a feeling or a mood.
Convey a feeling or a mood. So lots of authors and musicians, they don't want to simply say, I'm sad. They want to use a big metaphor about how compare the rain to their sadness or something like that. So it makes it much more interesting. You have to think outside of the box to kind of figure out how they're feeling or how they want you to feel. I have just to kind of review ones that we've went over before, and I know you guys did this last year also. So I'm going to do a short review and then we can do the activity. So these are the type of figurative language that we're going to review, and then you guys are going to practice with your group. So we have simile, obviously the comparison of two unlike things using like or as, which is different than a metaphor where they just simply say it is this. It doesn't use like or as. So the example for a simile: the baby sleeping was quiet as a cricket. Metaphor: Jack is the shining star of our classroom. So it didn't say he was like a shining star, it said he is the shining star. Idiom is an expression that can't be taken literally. So the example there, the equation 1 + 1 is a piece of cake. You guys have heard lots of idioms before. Mary bit off more than she could chew. They're just those sayings that you hear a lot. Personification is when you give human-like qualities to something that isn't human, like the waves danced, or my comfortable bed was calling my names, because the bed can't really call your name. Lastly, alliteration is whenever you have several words with the same beginning sound. So, Sam sipped a strawberry slushie last Sunday. If you guys have questions about any of these should just all be a review. Alright, so for the activity, you are going to work with your group. Every group will have a different poem, and they're short poems, so they shouldn't take you long to read. So you'll read these with your group. Designate one person to write down if you see a metaphor, simile, alliteration, personification, idiom, any of those on a sticky note. So if you see a simile, jot it down. And then later, if you see a metaphor, it would go on a different sticky note. So if I see a simile, she was crying like a baby, then I would write it down on my sticky. And then you can have someone from your group stick it on the page. So ideally, we should maybe not fill up, but have some on each of the boards. So I'll give every group a sticky pad. If somebody wants to be the designated writer, or if you want to split it up, that's fine. I'll give her a second.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, where's it? Oh, we need to. Yeah.
Alright, and then you'll all get a different poem. So if one of you wants to read it out loud, or if you want to look at it together, and then you can start identifying those figurative language devices. Write them on the sticky notes, and then someone can go place them on the designated board. So after I pass these out, I'll give you like 10 minutes or so, and then if we need extra time, then I'll give extra time. All right, 10 minutes, so go ahead and start reading, writing down if you see any figurative language.
Is a shiny crystal sheet of glass. That I would say that's a metaphor. So right this is. Yeah, and then we're gonna go put it in the metaphor on paper.
Sheet of glass. That can be a metaphor. That's not water.
I wanna run it. I'll run it. That one, her brother takes it. That's a metaphor. Was that a metaphor? It's something that isn't what is it?
It's an idiom because physics is accelerated. It becomes second best from something.
Yes.
Oh, you're running.
You can write that down in a metaphor, right?
It's right here. We just write it. Just write this down.
Someone told me to write it down.
See, because this is probably to count his name.
No, we don't put aluminum. Write the actual.
His name is Dorian because yeah, silver is his name.
No.
This okay. You sound it out. This I-O-T-R. What is this? One on a pair.
Join the fight.
She gets the
Right there.
So we deeply analyze his name.
And that doesn't even
Asher should do it.
make it look like a make it look like a
Next
circle.
time Asher's doing it.
Here. After doing that.
I was doing this. I don't waste stuff. These are asking you.
She's saying that because
Is anybody still working?
Are we?
I don't want to take up time if everybody's done.
Is there any personification? Is there any personification?
All right. If we're all done, then we can talk about, I'll call on people from each group and you can go up and kind of explain why you put that in on a certain board. So Jessica, Sadie, can you go over to the board? Sadie, could you go over to the board and then talk about one that you guys stuck up there and why you stuck it on that particular board? Do you mind? Okay.
Which one was it?
Just find one that you guys wrote up there and tell us why you put it on the simile board.
Okay, like jeweled tables. It says like, so it's simile.
What was it again?
Like jeweled tables.
Like jeweled tables. Emily, could you go and find one from your guys' group?
So it's cars danced on the wet road, cars can't dance, so it's personification.
Sweet. Owen, go find one that you guys posted and tell us why you put it there.
Does it stink like rotten meat? It uses like so it's a simple.
Does it stink like rotten meat? So comparing something stinky to rotten meat. Josh, can you go find one that you guys put up?
Okay, it disappears down. It repeats the D sound. and
Okay.
It's alliteration.
Good. Nick, did you guys put one anywhere else besides alliteration? Can you go find it and tell us?
Okay, it's not a little girl's pigtail doll.
Good. Asher, can you go find one that you guys put up?
It's hard to head off. You can't. It's like
Okay. Gabrielle, did you guys do one?
We did for if dreams die because dreams can't die for personification.
Good. Janaya, Eugene, Emma, did you guys post one?
So we put this one in metaphor because it's comparing the cyclone to the bunch of bulldozers.
Nice. Alright, so, let me see. I'll pass out. I have an assignment that you will get to pick what you want to do. So do you guys remember earlier this year when we did that survey about your learning styles? So there's one for each of those. We have the verbal, mathematical, visual, spatial, musical, dance, and interpersonal. So if you remember that survey you took and what type of learning style you were, then you could maybe head towards that way and then see if any of those appeal to you. Otherwise, you can pick any from the board that appeals to you. So I'm going to talk about this just for a little bit, and then you guys can look around, make a choice, and then think about what you would do for the assignment. So for the verbal, some examples: write a letter to a friend using 4 kinds of figurative language, write a story, write a one-scene play, create a newspaper, 4 newspaper headlines. So some of you guys are strong writers, these may appeal to you. Mathematical, I know I have lots of people in here really good at math, so some of these may appeal to you. Find a poem and tally the number of times the figurative language appears. Integrate figurative language into a description on the planets. Make a Venn diagram that compare and contrast. And then create 3 mathematics story problems using different types of figurative language. So if you, some of you I know are, you on your survey you scored really high on your mathematical, so you may, some of those may appeal to you. Visual, spatial, I enjoy painting, drawing, and visualizing. Create a picture dictionary, make a wanted poster, make a Venn diagram, create your own crossword puzzle. Musical dance, some of you guys, that was your learning style, you liked music and you learn well that way. Write 3 lines from a song that demonstrate figurative language, illustrate, examine a musician, create your own song. Lastly, interpersonal, make a set of flashcards, interview an idiom, investigate a poem, and then create 3 jokes or puns. So I'll pass this out. You guys can look over it, pick one that appeals to your learning style. Okay, so we'll take about 5 minutes to look over this. Think about one that you'd be interested in and that you would want to do over the others. Or if you have an idea that you want to tell me about, maybe that's not on the board that you would want to do, you could let me know that also. So kind of look over the board if you want to discuss with your group. That's fine. You guys can talk amongst your groups.
So what do you
About your assignment.
Which one do you guys think about this?
If you enjoy working in science, or maybe even I enjoy speaking and writing so much that I am going to write a huge long essay about
I'm gonna write a poem about startups. I'm gonna write a story about startups. I'm gonna create a song.
or something catchy.
Illustrate a mind and the meaning behind the mind. The mermaid.
I think we should. Alright, does everyone need a piece of paper so we can
Musical slash dance. Well, you made it good time. So we could talk about a different idea. I wish you just we should do a right down. We can go shopping. And we should I heard they made it fashion. We're going to secondary video.
I think we should create a newspaper article, and then we could use the headline like this.
Oh my god.
Draw our fake newspaper.
And I don't think
I mean, work. This is work that we're actually doing on camera.
Do you like being on camera?
okay.
So, our title is going to be well, good job, you already got that. You can just make it how everyone was flashed in the newspaper.
Oh, and what
We should all have the same.
that was me, that was him.
So, everyone says we need to give personification.